Monster Hunter Freedom 2 was my first Monster Hunter game. The funny thing is, I wasn't even a fan of video games. Maybe it was because I wasn't good at them. Or maybe we simply didn't have the luxury of growing up with video games by our side. That isn't to say I didn't have memories of them. I did. I remember my friend Eric letting me play Batman on an old Nintendo console. I don't even remember what the console was called anymore. I remember Super Mario. I never got past the first stage. I remember Mortal Kombat on Sega. My friends loved playing against me because Jeffrey Hong could always perform fatality on my Sub-Zero. King of Fighters eventually made its way onto early personal computers. I remember classmates discussing special move inputs and debating which characters were strongest. I couldn't relate to any of it. I wasn't good at video games. But when it came to physical games, that was different. Basketball, baseball, Sayatong, Follow the Leader, Sikio, Sipa, those were my games. I knew how to move. I knew how to read people. I understood rhythm, timing, adjustment. That was where I belonged. Then my friend Doi introduced me to Monster Hunter Freedom 2. Doi was addicted to Tekken. He told me, "That's a great game. It's the most discussed game in online forums." I remember thinking to myself, why would I believe you? You're not even playing it. He showed me the opening video anyway, then guided me through creating my own hunter. But I also noticed something strange. He barely touched Monster Hunter himself. He had maybe 6 hours of gameplay spread over an entire month. Meanwhile, Tekken consumed most of his attention. So I tried Monster Hunter reluctantly. A few beginner quests. Okay, nothing special. A gathering quest. Fine. Until a striped wyvern interrupted my quest for 3 Popo Tongues. Until an electrified dressed chicken made me spend 20 minutes searching for him before failing my very first quest because time expired. Until my friend Doi stopped being able to play Tekken because I was always borrowing his PSP to play Monster Hunter. Until I saved up 5,000 pesos to buy my own PSP and installed only one game, Monster Hunter Freedom Unite. Monster Hunter is a different kind of video game. It doesn't simply entertain you. It absorbs you. It places you inside another world and quietly asks a question. Who are you? Because eventually, you stop controlling a hunter. You become one. And strangely enough, the kind of hunter you become often resembles the person you already are. My friend Archie installed mods that allowed him to see monster health bars. He wanted certainty. He wanted to know exactly when a monster was ready for capture. Exactly when it would die. As if he feared life's uncertainties and wanted answers before making decisions. My friend Gillo only used hammer. Huge damage. Massive impact. He loved being at the center of the fight. But he struggled hunting alone. He needed support. He thrived alongside others. My friend Jay was the opposite. He mastered every weapon. Long sword, great sword, dual blades, hammer, lance, bow. If you handed him something unfamiliar, he'd learn it. Adaptability was his strength. Then there was Toss. He hunted large monsters, small monsters, collected endemic life, fished, looked for treasures hidden throughout the maps. He wasn't merely completing quests. He wanted to experience everything the world offered. And then there was me. I realized something over the years. My hunts begin before the quest begins. I'm not a speedrunner. I'm not playing to rush. I don't chase efficiency for efficiency's sake. I go there to see the world with my own eyes. I commit to the hunt before I even depart. I hunt alone, not because I reject others, but because it creates a different kind of intimacy. When you hunt alone in the snowy mountains, you feel the cold. When you stand alone in the desert, you can almost feel the wind carrying sand against your face. In the swamp, the mud feels heavier beneath your feet. The environment sharpens when you're alone. The silence becomes louder. The monster feels closer. The world becomes real. I also love hunting with friends. When someone needs help hunting a particular monster, we each bring our own experiences into a shared encounter. Hammer for stuns, elemental sword and shield, dual blades and blade dance, hunting horn support. We compare patterns, share discoveries, cover each other's weaknesses. Alone builds identity. Together builds versatility. Khezu gave me my first failed quest. Not because I was new, because I was unprepared. Seeing the world with your own eyes doesn't mean walking through it blindly. That was my mistake. People often say, it's just a game. No, at least not this one. If you copy others without understanding why they move the way they move, you'll quit Freedom Unite early. Monster Hunter demands patience, observation, cunning, endurance. You must learn to anticipate what comes next. When I hunt, I adjust. I choose armor not simply for the monster, but for myself, for my style. Take the beginner Tigrex set. I worked hard to craft it, not because of its defense, because of awareness. Auto Tracker allowed me to identify the monster immediately from base camp. No wandering. No wasting time searching through every area during a 50-minute quest. Time is a resource. Information is an advantage. I gather between quests, long before I need the materials. Some people call it wasting time. I call it preparation. Because when stronger weapons become available, I already possess what I need. Preparation looks slow, until it isn't. There was once a time when I failed a quest without ever finding the monster. Monsters move. They don't wait. The Tigrex armor let me consume items faster, recover faster, continue faster. It made me less vulnerable to interruptions. Later, while hunting Teostra with friends, they froze beneath the force of his roar. I kept attacking, not because I was reckless, because I had prepared for that moment. Most people build for damage. I build for continuity. I craft skill jewels carefully. Poison resistance for Rathian. High-grade earplugs for Diablos. Adjust, refine, adapt, and sometimes I slow down. I climb ledges, search hidden areas, stand quietly in falling snow. Listen to Pokke village music after a difficult hunt. Enjoy the journey. Because the world isn't merely a battlefield. It's an environment, and I wanted to experience it fully. For a long time, I thought Monster Hunter taught me who I wanted to become. 20 years later, I think it simply helped me recognize who I had been all along. I wasn't transformed into a hunter. I discovered one. The child who couldn't finish the first stage of Super Mario. The boy who lost repeatedly in Mortal Kombat. The teenager who preferred basketball courts over arcade machines. The student who adjusted, observed, prepared, committed. He was already there. Monster Hunter simply gave him a world large enough to reveal himself. This was never about the monsters. Not really. It wasn't about Tigrex, or Khezu, or Gypceros, or Rajang. It was about recognizing the hunter I was becoming. And perhaps that's why Freedom Unite stayed with me long after other games faded away. Because after 20 years, I no longer remember my first Zenny reward. I no longer remember how many Kelby horns I gathered. I no longer remember every weapon upgrade path. But I remember who I was when I played. And I remember who I became. Most games ask you to escape reality for a little while. Monster Hunter asked me to pay attention, to prepare, to adapt, to understand, to commit. And in doing so, it handed me something I never expected to find in a video game. A mirror. And for the first time in my life, Staring into another world through the screen of a PSP, I recognized the hunter looking back at me.